and welcome to another episode of the Tar Heel Insider Podcast here on the SI Network. I'm your host, Grant Chachere, the beat writer for North Carolina Tar Heels on SI, bringing you all the latest news in regards to UNC Chapel Hill athletics. And there was some major news that dropped earlier today. There has been whispers about it for the last couple weeks or so, and we all knew that it was going to be inevitable that UNC was going to have a marquee exposition game against an opponent that was of high caliber. Maybe not like a Kentucky or a Kansas, although those two teams are on the schedule, but I'm just giving an example of the teams that can play. But we knew it was going to be against a solid opponent that a lot of people were high on going into the year. And that opponent will be BYU. BYU and UNC took advantage of a new rule that allows Division I programs to play up to 2 televised exposition games. And we know that BYU is trying to become an elite basketball program. They've always been a very solid program throughout many years. They've always been one of the better mid-major schools throughout the history of college basketball. And now they're in the Big 12. They're coming off a solid year where they went to the Sweet 16. They have a lot of players coming back, as well as some marquee players coming in. Of course, we all know about AJ DeBonsa, who was the number 1 player in the country. And he's going to be on BYU next year. And what a way to show the whole world what their team is fully capable of against one of the greatest programs in college basketball history, which is the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And I think this is a great opportunity for both teams. Of course, I already mentioned BYU wants to show everybody what they have, but then also North Carolina gets a $500,000 payday to play this game. And according to SB Nation's Robin McCombs, UNC is set to receive a guaranteed $500,000 payment 30 days after the contest. As the visiting team, UNC will also advise BYU, the university themselves, on the payment details. So not only is UNC getting paid, but it also allows the team to kind of find its identity before the season starts. There's a lot of uncertainty around this program. They're coming off of a down year. And, of course, they don't want to have a second straight down year, especially in a tough conference like the ACC. Yes, the ACC was not a very strong conference last season, but it's still the same old dog-eat-dog conference that it has always been. And it will continue to be the same this year. I think it would be better because Duke, obviously, is Duke. Louisville improved last year, and I think they're going to keep building momentum. NC State, I think, will be really, really good. Will Wade, and I've seen this in person as somebody who went to LSU and covered LSU when Will Wade was the head basketball coach at LSU. They won a lot of games, and he won a lot of games at a school that really considered basketball to be kind of the bridge between football season and baseball season. And he made people want to go to basketball games. Very similar to how Kim Mulkey is making people go see women's basketball games. And, rightfully so. They've won a national championship in the 4 years that she's been there. And Will Wade has won at every single spot he's been at. He won at Chattanooga. He won at BCU. He won at LSU. Most recently, he won at McNeese State. And McNeese State, before we got there, was one of the worst teams in the Southland Conference. Last year, they won their first NCAA tournament game, I think, either ever or in a very long time. They were the back-to-back Southland Conference champions. And before we got there, as I said, were one of the worst teams in the conference, if not the worst. And he's going over to an NC State program. Of course, I think every UNC fan knows this, but they've been fairly successful. Yes, they've been little brother to Duke and UNC, but to their credit, they've been to multiple Final Fours. They've won 2 national championships. They're in a state that lives and breathes basketball, and now they have a marquee coach, and I know he's going to do a great job there building that program up because he is a hell of a recruiter. He is one hell of a recruiter, and it won't take long before NC State gets going. And there's also other teams in the ACC as well that are very strong, but those are some great examples. Because the ACC, I think it will be better. I think last year was just a one-off. It happens all the time to every conference. Every conference is going to have that 1 year where it's just not as good as it has been in previous years, but I think that's going to change this year. And I think this is a great way for UNC to get comfortable, find his identity, to play against a great BYU team that has a lot of high expectations. And also, they've been spending some money at NIL. That's how they're able to get AJ DeBonta to come to BYU. And he's not a Mormon, guys. But he's getting paid by BYU, by the way, who has a lot of money. And not only does of course, we talked about the ACC slate, but also their non-conference slate is tough too. They have to play Kentucky. They have to play Kansas. They will be playing Ohio State and Michigan State as well. Those are 4 solid programs, 3 of which I named are blue blood programs. So this is going to be so I think this is a great opportunity for UNC to really find its identity going into the season. Of course, because you have a lot of new faces. The only starter that returns for UNC is Seth Trimble. There's a lot of new faces brought in via the transfer portal or recruiting. Of course, Caleb Wilson is a perfect example of that. The former 5-star top 10 recruit of the class of 2025. He's been considered to be one of the best freshmen going into the season, and a lot of people have been, like shocked how well, I wouldn't say shocked, but surprised how fast he's really developed in UNC's program, and he's really looks like he's ahead of schedule. So I'm really excited to see him play, especially going up against AJ DeBonta. That could be, you already know ESPN and whoever is broadcasting this game is going to market it. They're going to market 2 of the best freshmen going up against each other, and they both play the 4 position. They could both play the 3 or the 4, so it'll be a very, very interesting matchup. And of course, BYU also has some other players as well. You have to mention AJ DeBonta, of course, the number 1 player in the country. You also have to mention Robbie Saunders, who was an all Big 12 guard for BYU last season. Oh, Richie Saunders was an all Big 12 player last year and also won the Big 12 Most Improved Player Award, and he's back this year. And they also brought in Rob Wright, who was a 5-star transfer portal target. He was the number 8 transfer portal target in the country last season. So they're going to have a very good team this year. And also, they just had the number 3 recruiting class for the 2025 recruiting cycle. So they're going to be a very good team, and I think this would be a great opportunity for both teams. Now, kind of go away from the matchup. Let's talk about really the future landscape for these type of games. We already know in football there's been talks about inter-squad spring games. Nick Saban has talked about this quite a bit. It really picked up steam when Deion Sanders, forced the head coach of Colorado, and Fran Brown, the head coach of Syracuse, proposed an idea that they wanted to play an inter-squad spring game. And we've seen a lot of coaches really come out in support of that. Even when I was at LSU covering spring football, Brian Kelly mentioned that he was in support of that. Of course, maybe they're not going to take it too seriously, right? Because I don't think coaches don't want their players to get hurt, which is why you're kind of seeing some of the more traditional aspects of spring games go away. But they still want to see how their team does against another team. It's one thing to see a team go up against each other, but a lot of the teammates on their team already know weaknesses, right? For example, the cornerback knows the strengths and weaknesses of the receiver he's going against. Same thing with the O-line, D-line. So you're not going to really learn anything. But if you go up against a team that doesn't know who you are and you don't know who that team is, it gives coaches a better aspect of what players need to work on because you've seen a different team and you see how they compete against other teams instead of, dudes who they've been playing with for the last year, 2 years, 3 years. So it's gonna be. I think the spring game, and also the basketball exposition prospect of college sports is very interesting, and also I think it's something you need to watch out for. And the reason why I'm saying this is not because you're starting to see more of it, but NIL plays a huge factor. Schools are trying to find more ways to make more money with NIL, and also not just NIL, but with the new revenue sharing that has been put in place. So schools are trying to find ways to get money, and what a better way to get money via playing exhibition games, whether it's basketball, playing inter squad games during the spring. You know how great that would be for the state of North Carolina, where you have North Carolina going up against East Carolina in an inter squad spring game. Both schools have a great chance to make money. Maybe you play that game in Charlotte. I think there's great ways you can make money off of these games. I think that's same thing for football, same thing for basketball. So any school that takes advantage of this new rule for basketball, I think is a great way for both programs to make money and also learn from each other. And I think the same goes for football. Especially matchups, for example, BYU and UNC put players on national TV even before the season began. So it's easy marketing for the new college basketball season. New revenue streams for schools equals justification for bigger NIL investment games. For example, like UNC and BYU come with large payouts. For example, North Carolina, as I already mentioned, is making $500,000, and also you got to include ticket revenue. That game's being played in Salt Lake City. That is the capital of Utah, and not only that, is one of the fastest growing cities in America. A lot of money is moving into Salt Lake City, so there's going to be a lot of money being flown around that stadium. Not only paying tickets, but then also you got to think about the UNC fans who are flying in, and also there's probably a lot of UNC fans in Utah. Who knows? And not only this is happening in basketball, I think you're going to see this in football too. I think this is a good thing for college athletics. And I think this is something you need. Once again, you need to keep watching out for, because I think this is the future of college athletics, and I'm really excited for it, and you should too. With that being said, I'm your host, Grant Chachere, the beat writer for North Carolina Tar Heels on SI. Make sure to follow me, my last name, first name on Twitter. Also, make sure to follow Tar Heels on SI on Twitter as well. And also, we have a Facebook page as well. Make sure to like that page. We're going to have a lot of content coming through. Of course, this week is ACC kickoff, and Bill Belichick's going to take the podium along with Gio Lopez and Will Hardy, Thaddeus Dixon. They'll take the stage as well, so you get to hear their thoughts about the upcoming season. And then also, fall camp is right around the corner, so make sure to follow along all the content me and Jeremiah are doing right here on Tar Heels on SI. You guys have a great night, and I'll see y'all later.